And I don't want to make it sound like these two approaches differ on the level of an atheist and a Christian. And I think I've come to realize everyone is trying to do the same thing.
Mm.
But you would agree in general, though, that although this is getting into detail into this question is certainly more of an issue we would have encountered 10 years ago with the new atheists we've talked about. It's probably still true that in obeying Peter's command to be always ready to give an answer for the hope that is in you, that at least having a working knowledge of at least the contours of this question, wouldn't we agree this is probably necessary at some level? Like if you get into enough of a dialogue and relationship with an atheist or agnostic, at some point, something like this is going to come up. Now, what I would say is that if you're really getting into an really ongoing friendship and dialogue with an atheist or agnostic, even if you're not going to just make the mistake I used to make, because although I love Answers in Genesis, I think they do a lot of good work. I do think they go a bit too far with this creation evangelism thing. I don't necessarily think that the average atheist or agnostic, that today anyways, evolution is their main stumbling block that is preventing them from accepting the claims of the gospel. I would say it's almost inevitably going to come up over the course of time, because eventually you're going to have to get to the question of evil. You're going to have to get to the question of why the morality of the gospel makes sense. And I would argue that all of this is ultimately grounded in a historical understanding of Genesis. Take original sin. We both agree original sin is a thing, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So if you don't have like the origin of original sin, I don't see how you can give a functional answer for why there was a fall and the corruption of human nature that came from it, leading to the need for the new birth and atonement. However we might agree or disagree on where that new birth happens, or that's where Catholic Protestant debates usually fall into. But I hope to maybe eventually get, before we wrap up today, to whether there are Catholic Protestant differences in this debate too. But on that point, I was saying, like, I don't think you can avoid this issue forever. Maybe a casual conversation or a general presentation of the gospel, you can avoid it, but eventually something is going to come up if you know this person for a while.
Well, of course, and I think for me, the nice thing about being in my position is that we can set this topic aside relatively quickly, because their main issue is, I think it's diametrically opposed to science that that one should take the Genesis account literally, right? So they say that, and then you kind of have to do the long, in-depth process of trying to defend your sacred texts against a system that you may or may not know very well, and you're getting into technical stuff that you or the atheist might not know very well, and then you seem like you're defending something that's undefendable, right? It's like there are several things that this person's willing to accept. The idea that Genesis is a literal narrative, it might be one of those things that they say, this is a worldview that is inherently incoherent. So I think that I would in those conversations say that whatever you like to believe about the origin of species from a technical point of view is correct, but the current scientific consensus that we have points to a theistic Christian conclusion about the nature of reality. And so I think it actually might work to our benefit. That's kind of a tangent. I would just say that this is irrelevant to the actual important meat and potatoes, if you will, of theism and the gospel.